What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So we are inching closer to the college basketball season getting tipped off here. We're in exhibition season, and for Michigan State basketball, they have their first exhibition game this week on Thursday, 7 o'clock in the Breslin Center against Bowling Green. That's on Big Ten Plus if you won't be in the area and can't get to the Breslin Center. But first of two exhibitions here for Michigan State. We'll be traveling to Connecticut to take on the UConn Huskies next Tuesday as well, 7:30. That one will be on UConn Plus, I believe. So just another subscription you're gonna have to get. If you don't already have Big Ten Plus, you'll have to get it for this as well. But anyway, it's exhibition season, so yes, these games we're not going to have too big of a X's and O's breakdown, and obviously it's the beginning of the season, don't really have real statistical numbers with how college athletics as a whole, really, but college basketball too, specifically here, with a lot of movement as well, the amount of new players on Bowling Green coming into this year. We'll get to that here in a minute, but don't really know what the teams are going to be. Plus, also it's an exhibition, so especially on the Michigan State side of things, I expect us to try out a lot of different things. I don't expect guys to be playing the minutes that they'll be playing once the season tips off here in about 2.5 weeks or so. But before we do jump into this matchup against Bowling Green, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Michigan State basketball content on the channel all season long. We'll have previews and recaps for every single game. We'll also have a season preview before the regular season gets tipped off here. We're going to wait till after the two exhibition games. We're going to do it before, but kind of want to see how things play out these first two games before finalize everything. Get that nice longer term video, or longer form video out, should I say, for a season as a whole. Look at it, where they stack up in the Big Ten this year, coming off a Big Ten championship last year, winning the league by 3 games, in case you forgot. But we'll have that. We have a bunch of other stuff on the channel as well. Michigan State football, it's rivalry week, it's hate week this week. We have previews and recaps for all of those games as well. A bunch of other stuff on the channel as well, so just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So let's just jump into Bowling Green. Obviously, when you look at last year's stats, for any team, really, not a lot really matters, because as Tom Izzo says it a lot in his early season press conferences and whatnot, it's like, I don't know how any of these rankings or anything work, preseason, because no one knows what anyone's got, and that's true when you're looking at numbers from last year, but you can kind of look at trends. And, what we did here for Bowling Green, just a couple players that played in the game last year, because this was a matchup last year early in the season. So we're just going to look at that and some of their season numbers. But last year, Bowling Green, 14-18 overall. Michigan State won that. It was an 86-72 game. It was the 4th game of the year last year in the Breslin Center. And if you remember that game, it was a very tight game. Like, it ended up being that 14-point win, but it was within like 7 or 8. It was under 10 pretty much the whole game. And they were definitely causing some problems for Michigan State. Obviously, that was still beginning of the season. Michigan State was figuring out a lot of things, as most teams are, first month or so of the season. But, they definitely challenged Michigan State last year. On the Michigan State side, Jackson Kohler and Jeremy Fears both had 10 points. Cohen had 11. And Carson had 12. And, well, that's your 4 captains returning this year. So Jaden Akins also had a good game that game as well. But obviously he's not, on the team this year, as he has graduated last year. But, your 4 captains already had a good game in this game last year, so that's something to look at here. Obviously, different personnel on both sides, but when you look at the Bowling Green side, Marcus Johnson, if you remember their big man that they had, killed us last year with 23 points. He transferred this offseason. I believe it was Kansas State, but he's not on the roster anymore. But who is on the roster? Javante Campbell's back. 6'2" senior guard. He had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals last year in this game. As a whole last year, he was an All-MAC defensive player, All-MAC third-team selection. Expected to be that again this year for Bowling Green. Sam Towns as well, 6'9" forward, senior. He had 8 points and 4 rebounds. Didn't miss a shot in 26 minutes of play, but he did foul out. But those are 2 guys that stick out from last year. But when you look at as a whole, for Bowling Green last year, just some of their numbers, 300th in adjusted efficiency offense, 219th adjusted efficiency defense, 191st in 3-point percentage, and 95th in adjusted tempo. Obviously, those don't mean too much. A lot of different pieces on this roster. They added in Atlantic Sun's 6th man of the year, 6'8", Meyer Wool, I hope I said that name right, from Eastern Kentucky, 9 points a game, 40% from the field and 33% from three, adding him in there. He is one of 10 new players. 10 of 17 are new players on this Bowling Green roster. But, that's kind of just where we're at with Golden State, obviously, or Bowling Green, should I say. Obviously not a lot you can look at here in an exhibition game early in the season. So many new players, but that's what we're looking at. But when you look at Bowling Green as well, when you look at their coaching staff on the bench, Lou Rawls, Tum Tum Naren, obviously former captain for Michigan State, starter on a Final Four team back in 2015, and all-around beloved figure here in East Lansing. He's on that coaching staff there. I believe he's the head assistant coach now. So happy for him, good for him. Excited to see him back in the Breslin Center. But yeah, that's Bowling Green. When we switch it to the Michigan State side, and this is what we're kind of focusing on here, again, not really focusing on X's and O's, statistical numbers and whatnot, just kind of what we want to see in, this exhibition game. Kind of get stuff started out when you ramp it up for another exhibition game on Tuesday as well before you get the season started. Looking to see first, kind of the biggest question is who is going to start at the 2 guard? And then kind of, we won't get a lot for minutes distribution for the season, or what it'll be like at the beginning of the season, but just kind of see, how they do in this. As I said, I think the minutes will be reduced for everyone to get more people in, especially get some of the young guys or unproven guys to this point, kind of more run. But who starts at the 2 guard? Is it going to be Kurt Tang, who Tom Izzo has said time and time again is their best shooter on the roster? Or will it be Trey Ford, obviously the transfer coming in? He can light the ball up. He can score as well. Tom Izzo has said multiple times, though, leading up to the season, he has a long way to go on defense. He's been to a lot of different places in his collegiate career, and that's what Tom Izzo is attributing to him having to come the longest way on defense. So I'm kind of leaning Kerr right now, but I think Trey Ford is going to be an incredible player for this team, and we'll get more into that when we do a full team season preview. But I think Kerr will get that start right now. Just haven't been in the program. Maybe a little bit further along defensively, even though he is a younger player. That's kind of where I'm looking at right now. See what kind of also action we see Kurt in. As we, we might have not talked about it here on the roster, or on the channel, but in Midnight Madness, MSU Madness, Kurt we saw in kind of the mold of, or some plays ran for like a pin down coming off, kind of like how Josh Langford used to in his career, kind of coming off tight off that pin down and then curling into a jump shot. So we'll see if that's kind of part of his game. We're talking about his 3-point shooting, but if he can get that mid-range shot going as well. But he's definitely going to have to be someone, both him and Trey, expected to be 2 of our top 3-point shooters as well. So excited to see how that 2 position plays out in the first exhibition game. But then I'm also very excited to see the freshman class. This was a freshman class that was, maybe not as highly touted as some freshman classes we've had in the past, but both players seem to be set up for a fairly impactful freshman year. Cam Ward, especially with the Caleb Glenn injury during the summer, was expected to have his role go up. And we were all excited for Cam Ward to come in this summer and, go into the season and expected him to have a solid freshman year. But, that role has now, elevated with Caleb Glenn now going to be out for the year. So I'm excited to see how Cam Ward looks in full game setting. We saw him a little bit in Michigan State Madness, MSU Midnight Madness, whatever it's called. We saw him in that little scrimmage there. So just excited to see how he looks in game flow, where he fits into the flow of this offense. And then also see how he competes on defense as well, because that'll be a key for him this year, as I think this team is going to kind of have the same kind of mold as last year. Obviously, we saw Jace, develop to the, one of the top first round pick, last year, and his scoring ability, one-on-one ability, whatnot. But defend, rebound, run is still the mantra of the program. And, you need your freshman to do that, especially in the role that he's going to be coming in. I think, other guys on the roster are going to have to fill it up. And I think Cam Ward will have to do that in time. But, playing good defense to keep yourself on the floor, to put yourself in those situations, I think is a good, is something to look out for here in Exhibition 1. And then Jordan Scott, who's a name that, maybe not considered a red shirt, for his freshman year, but definitely someone who didn't expect to have a big impact maybe kind of similar to like Kurtang last year, but he's been getting rave reviews out of camp and preseason lead up so far as one of the better shooters as well. And, a lot of glowing reviews so far out of Jordan Scott. So excited to see as well kind of how he looks in the game flow. And then one of the last few things here, Jesse McCullough. Obviously, he redshirted last year, his freshman year. He's going to be getting a lot of those backup minutes now. Obviously, with Simone Zapala having graduated and moved on, Carson Cooper is going to be your starting center, and I really like how he looked in Michigan State Madness. Obviously, want to see it in a full game setting, but he's going to get a lot of those backup center minutes now. I imagine they're probably going to stagger some stuff, and I hope they do run some lineups with Jackson Kohler at the 5 as well, Colin Carr at the 4, kind of bring in Cam Ward at the 3 maybe, see what they do there. But I thought Jesse, when I walked out of MSU Madness, he was one of the, 2 or 3 guys that I was, very impressed with. He had a kind of a Dirk, fade away from the mid-range as well. Thought he was moving fairly well. So excited to see what he looks like in game action, but that's just something also looking forward to see how he looks in those backup 5 minutes. And then how does the backup ball handlers look? Obviously, Divine Ugochukwu coming in from Miami. He was the guy that you brought in to, be that backup ball handler. Because as we talked about during the summer, before they got Divine, once Trey Holloman, ended up transferring, we needed someone because if Jeremy went to the bench, there was no one there to dribble the ball. Like Kurtang can dribble the ball, and initiate the offense a little bit, but wanted someone more. So Divine Ugochukwu comes in, and he was another one of the 2-3 guys that took away from MSU Madness that was fairly impressed with. I think he can get the offense rolling, kind of get things going, and I think he will pair well off the bench with if it is Trey Ford off the bench. I think that can be a good duo in the backcourt coming off the bench if you have then Jeremy and Kerr starting in that backcourt. So excited to see that. But yeah, that's kind of all we got here for the exhibition. Just looking for, obviously, first things first, everyone come out healthy, but then just kind of see, the rust get kicked off and, kind of get things moving. See how the offense looks. Obviously, you're going to need new go-to guys. Your go-to guys last year, Jace Richardson, obviously, first-round pick, playing for the Orlando Magic right now. Jaden Akins as well. He's off in the G League right now. So Trey Holloman was another guy those are probably your 3, first go-to scoring options last year. So we're going to see how Colin Carr looks, and he's going to need a bigger role in scoring-wise. Jackson Kohler, which we saw that, quite a bit last season, that he can do that, get you 14 points and still approach double-digit rebounds as well. But Colin Carr, Jackson Kohler, but Jeremy Fears as well. He's not just initiating, running everything, but he's going to have to put up, 8 points a game, I think, at least. Which we're going to talk about more when we do the season preview, what we kind of want the averages to be at for everyone on the roster and, kind of how that all fits together and what this puzzle is going to be like for Michigan State this year. But anyway, excited to be talking basketball again. Excited to be back in the Breslin Center for a basketball game. Lucky enough to have season tickets this year. I usually go to most games, 90% of the games. Every year anyway, but first year with season tickets here, have them for football, women's soccer as well, but finally was able to add basketball, men's basketball to the season tickets, so we'll be in the building for this one and all season long. So if you're in section 203, hey, say hi. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. We'll be back to talk about this one afterwards in a recap, but anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.